Okay, hello everyone. Hope you guys are all having a nice time. The date today, as I'm filming this, is March the 19th. So we are in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic here, which is why I'm at home, indoors on a nice sunny day when I'd much rather be out on my bike or climbing or doing absolutely anything else. So because of this, I've decided the best thing that I can do with my time right now, apart from, well, looking for other jobs and other work to do, is to get some more video blogs out. There should hopefully have been a blog that just went up recently, which was the phase 1 of building the climbing wall. This one's going to jump ahead a little bit in time if I put it out in the same order, but whenever it comes out I hope you enjoy it. But this is the first of hopefully a couple of videos that I'm going to do of me climbing or trying every route that I've set in the climbing wall, and I think there are about 17 or 18 routes in this video. It's about half an hour long, starting with the absolute easiest routes that are in there, going on to some of the really hard ones that I really had to session to have a go at. The reason for doing this is I've seen a few other climbers do stuff like this, like trying to climb every route in a gym, which looks like really fun, but also I think it's a really nice way to show you guys what we've got at the cave, show you guys the kind of things that we're climbing on there, and yeah, so if you guys watch this, it should show you some of the cool stuff that we've got, and hopefully when we get to actually open it again, you'll be psyched up to come and try some of the routes that we've got all set up there. And last part of my little intro here is just to say again, I hope you're all looking after yourself. I hope you're all staying safe. It's very dark times out there for everyone. It's very scary times out there for everyone. But the best thing that we can all do is not panic, be calm, be kind to each other, look after each other. If you're not feeling well, or even if you are feeling well, stay at home so that we don't spread this thing any further, so that we don't, have to keep climbing centres and pubs and restaurants and freelancers like me sitting at home on the sofa doing nothing, and keep all those other businesses closed. Stay home and do your part for now. I know we don't all agree with the government, but at the moment the best thing that it seems that we can do is just to all stay home and chill, and see what happens next. Other than that, one last call. Again, if you feel like subscribing to my YouTube channel, that'd be hugely helpful, because at the moment I don't have any other work, so the more people that subscribe to what I do, the more chances there are that I can monetize this YouTube channel, which will really help me in the future, considering I have no work lined up for the next 12 months, which is going to be very scary. And I also can't really go and look for jobs at the moment because no one else is working either. So yeah, any help would be greatly appreciated. I'm hoping that we'll be back on the event circuit soon and things will recover. A lot of big events have had to very firmly cancel, which is scary, but hopefully we'll see how the future goes. But either way, it takes you one click and you can subscribe to my channel, and it will, it'll help me immensely. It really will. And it's the same actually if you've got other friends who are on YouTube. Go and subscribe to their channels, be a friend, help them out, and it costs you nothing. Just click it. And you probably have to watch one extra advert, or something like that, I don't know, and it'll just make your life no different really, but it'll make our lives better. So we'll make your life different. It'll make you feel better about being a good person. Yes, there we go. Alright, I'm going to move on now. This is also the first time that I'm using this thing, which is a little microphone that will connect to my iPhone, so it's hopefully going to work as a good voiceover thing. But yeah, I'm going to pass you over now to me doing some climbing and me also doing some voiceovering. Okay, hope you guys are well. Take care. Speak soon. So yes, welcome to the cave, everyone. If you've not seen it before, this is well, this is a little bit of a time capsule really, because this was the wall after we constructed everything, but before we had painted it all. So this was the raw kind of finish that only a few people kind of got to see in the flesh before it got painted and checked out and everything. So yeah, in this video, right now I'm just doing some warming up and some stretches. I'm one of those climbers who always takes a long old time to get warmed up with some nice easy routes like you can see me doing here, and stretching out and everything as well. So I always really recommend to people that they get as much of a warm up and stretch as much as they can, which is why it's important that with the wall that we've got here, we haven't just set routes that are really hard, because not only are they helpful for people who are going to get into climbing, that we hope, but also because they are really good for people like me who need something to warm up on. Warming up, very important to me. I know a lot of climbers will go to a gym and they'll just jump straight in on some of the really hard routes that they just like and are really challenging and interesting. I find, for me, I often end up getting really quickly pumped up and possibly injuring myself like that. Okay, this is a really cool bit where you can see what the wall actually looked like beforehand. Now, we did have to not beg and borrow and steal, but we definitely, the materials that we used to make this wall were lots of new bits of plywood. There's some old bits of plywood. When we say old, you know, some of the stuff had been used on other climbing wall projects in the past. Some of it have just been lying around the skate park. So you can see this is a nice, really rough finish of it. And when a lot of my friends came to climb on it, they were actually, some people were like, oh man, you should keep it like this, because it reminded them of what climbing walls kind of used to be like. When the first sort of artificial climbing walls were ever made, it was really very ghetto, was I suppose a kind of a way of saying that. I don't know if that's like cultural appropriation or anything, but they were very very rough and ready and very rugged, as this kind of thing looks. And yeah, part of me really wishes that we could have kept it that way. But I really like the way that it looks now with a nice orange paint job, which in the next video like this of me trying all the routes, you will hopefully see it. So this route that you can see me climbing on here was actually so long that I had to stop and move the camera, which I'm doing now. I did do it all in one go, but it was just, it's a long but relatively easy warm-up route of just some nice big white jugs all the way around. It's been really interesting route setting along the way with this, because it's the first, I've never built a climbing wall of this size before. Like, I remember at uni I built a couple of like little woodies in my like uni bedroom, just because I wanted something to train on. It was quite fun, but I'd never like set routes on a wall like this size before, so it's been a really interesting experience setting them and making the sort of best use of the space, which has been pretty exciting really. What you can probably see me doing now is eating a banana. So again, if you're new to, I said that like it sounded like a really interesting, exciting thing. It's not. Well, it is kind of exciting. If you are new to climbing, you've never really been into climbing or any other sports really, bananas are like absolute superfoods. They are so amazing. In climbing, what you'll find is really quickly you will get arm pump, so the muscles in your arms will feel like your arms are just full of concrete, and they won't want to move very much. Bananas, absolutely best sort of source of potassium that you can get, which is a really good way to reduce that muscle pump and fatigue. So you see tennis players and other sports people eating them quite a lot, and these days I think it's very rare that I will ever go to a climbing wall without taking at least a couple of bananas with me. Okay, moving on. So this is a really cool part of the gym. It's a really nice feature in that it's a curved overhang which actually follows the same contour and profile of the main vert ramp, which is what this wall is underneath it. And on the other side, 6 inches away from where my hands are now, is the surface where skaters drop in on the big old vert ramp. So it's really cool that we managed to keep that kind of shape there, as it were, for now. Yeah, hopefully we can set some interesting routes on that nice sort of wonderful inside of a wave kind of shape. So this route that I'm climbing on now, the black one, is actually the first route that I set. If you can remember watching the phase 1 video where I was building the first phase of the climbing wall, you will have seen this route. And it originally stopped just after the first 2 boards, because originally that's all we had, and I then sort of extended it out to the further points where I am now. I think I've got one more hold yet to go, which is this black one in the top right corner, and And yeah, so that's the first ever route. It was really quite sad actually when I had to take that down and repaint it, but I think I will be resetting something very similar to that quite soon. Okay, so what I'm doing now is putting my climbing shoes on. You might have noticed so far I've just been climbing in like a pair of trainers. Again, if you're new to climbing, climbing shoes are the difference between night and day in terms of climbing, especially when you get to some of the harder routes. They just make things so much easier to stand on smaller objects and smaller holds, to move your feet around better, and it just makes everything better. It gives you so much more grip. So yeah, they are incredibly helpful, and not that expensive really. You can pick up a decent pair of climbing shoes for probably £40 or something like that. Cheaper if you are happy to go second hand and have a look. But yeah, I think I have about 10 pairs of climbing shoes now, and Lucy does get a little bit frustrated when she keeps finding more pairs of climbing shoes around, but either way, I like them. And here we are at the main overhang part of the wall, and a nice little dyno route there, which actually I found really quite difficult. It looks quite small, but then I think that's probably just because I'm not very good at dynos. So I don't know the exact angle of that wall at the back for the more hardcore climbers, as it were, but it's a pretty nice angle to hang off, and it seems to work really well, but we can alter that later on as we go. Now moving back to the vert wall, and I'm on one of the longer sort of grey routes, and this is where those climbing shoes are actually really coming into their own now, with stepping on some of the smaller holds and some of the heel hooks and stuff. It's actually really nice having a wall that's just quite big and long and flat. A lot of people think that climbing centres have to be exclusively like giant jungle gyms where they're hanging upside down all the time and everything's overhanging, and you realise actually out in the real world the vast majority of climbing is on, you know, vertical surfaces, and actually some of the most fun climbing that you can do isn't stuff where you're just sort of pushing to the limit of how long can you hang on to something, but actually stuff that is a bit more cerebral and you really have to think about it, which is nice, and it separates it from something which is just how strong are you compared to how well can you use your brain. And I think hopefully the little cave that we've built here reflects that kind of style of climbing, which I really like, which is yeah, a little bit more logic and problem based rather than just can you bulk your way out of this. Like for example the route that I've just started here, which starts where you have to have both hands on a hold which is almost down by the floor. A lot of people really struggled with that when they first looked at it, but there's actually a really simple way to unlock it, which is to put your feet on the foothold back over and start with your body almost horizontal. Things like that I really enjoy. I call that like the Alex Waterhouse special. If you don't know Alex Waterhouse, amazingly strong climber, probably one of the strongest climbers in the southwest, who loves setting really crazy weird routes back at the Life Centre, and now at the climbing hangar I think, or he will be when it reopens hopefully. Okay, I can't really remember what I'm looking at here. Oh, jumpers come off, I must be serious. Okay, this is a really fun route, and it's only got 3 holds to it, which I actually really like. A lot of people think with climbing that it's got to be like Everest, that it's got to be a really long, prolonged route for it to be fun, whereas actually a really nice, simple rock over and then a reach like that with just 3 holds can stump some people for quite a while, but also can be a really rewarding route when they get it. And it's nice as well if there's a hard move that doesn't have loads of other stuff before it, you're less likely to get frustrated and you're more willing to keep trying it if you don't have to do all the rest of a really long route to get to it before. But I also do enjoy really long routes, especially this one. This is the orange set of holds, and again this slightly overhanging wall really comes into its own here, because you can really get a good bit of pinch strength on some of those slopers that I was hanging onto there, which makes it really nice and fun. Just out of interest as well, if you're wondering, the trousers that I'm wearing are not actually climbing specific trousers, although they are some of the comfiest trousers that I've climbed in. They are, I think they're made by a company called Dassie, and Lucy got me them for Christmas because I was wearing through my other works trousers quite quickly whilst I was building this, and it turns out they are just the comfiest pair of trousers. I absolutely love them. I thought they'd be a bit too heavy for climbing in, but it turns out they're actually really nice. So yeah, I'll try and put a link in the description below if you are interested in the type of trousers that I am wearing in this. And interestingly as well, that t-shirt that I'm wearing is actually about 15 years old, which is amazing considering the speed that I can generally shred through a t-shirt. I don't know why. I don't know if I've got toxic sweat or something like that, or if I just move in really strange ways when I'm riding my bike or climbing. But yeah, I've had that t-shirt since before I came down to Cornwall, which was in 2008. So yeah, it's done me well, that one. Okay, so this is the hardest route that we had in the cave at the time. I'm always going to set one route which is going to have a black tag on it. The reason for that is because when I bought the tags, there were only 2 black tags in there, which means one of them has to be stuck to the wall for a little guide thing, and the other one will go on whatever route is sort of the hardest one that's there. Now, this route I reckon is probably about a 7A plus in terms of whatever indoor bouldering UK grades, which means it's a real struggle for someone like me, but when I did get it, it felt really, really nice. For those of you who aren't familiar to climbing, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually brushing all the holds. The brush that I've got there is, like, climbers use them a lot, kind of like great big like clothing brushes. I know that people use a lot of brushes to, like, you know, brush dog hair and stuff off their clothes, especially if you've got lots of dogs. I've got one dog. Luckily she doesn't molt a lot of hair, but yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about dogs and hair and stuff. I'm using a brush to clean the holds off, and the reason is you'll know, or you'll have seen me putting chalk on my hands in order to get lots of grip. Actually, what happens in climbing centres a lot is that when you get too much chalk built up on the climbing holds, it actually makes them less grippy. So you want the chalk to be on your hands, not to be on the holds. You want the holds to be nice and clean and fresh, which is why a lot of climbing centres, hopefully all climbing centres actually, every couple of weeks or so will take all their holds down, take them outside, get a pressure washer and wash them all off so they're all nice and clean and lovely. Otherwise everyone's sweat sort of starts to grow on them a bit, and you get lots of nasty build-up of chalk, which you don't really want. You want it nice and clean so you can grip it as best you can. And as you can see, I am now getting my hands nice and coated in chalk so that I've got hopefully enough chalk on my hands to give me grip all the way around, using that nice big boulder bucket there, which is it's a Duostone boulder bucket, I think that one is. Duostone clothing, based in Dartmoor, still hopefully doing some really cool stuff. I haven't worked with them for a little while, but when I last did something with them, they were always pushing forwards and making new cool things. I've still got a couple of their products, so yeah, I'll put a link in the description below to Duostone so you can check that out as well. What I'm doing now is I'm not having some kind of outer body experience. I'm not hallucinating or anything. I'm trying to work the sequence of the holds out in my mind, because this is one of those routes again where being really strong isn't going to be well, it is going to be helpful, but I can't get out of any problems that I find myself in just by being strong. I have to kind of get the sequence just right. And I kind of got inspired to make a route like this that was difficult in a really technical kind of way after I've been watching The Dawn Wall, which was a really amazing film. It's on Netflix. It's about this guy Tommy Caldwell and his climbing partner Kevin Jurgensen, who were the first guys to climb the Dawn Wall in Yosemite. And there was probably the toughest route they had to battle against was Pitch 15, which was this incredibly difficult traversing route which involved lots of tiny minute micro movements to get everything just right and to work properly. So I wanted to make something kind of like that. The grade on this is probably miles below what they were doing in the Dawn Wall. Now there are like 2 different crux points on this route, and the first one is where I am now, having to make that really awkward hand turn. So the holds look quite big, but actually they're quite rounded, which means they're very hard to hold on to. What I'm just doing there, shaking my hand out because I'm getting quite a bit of arm pump already just from pulling on the really small holds. And I'm trying to get the blood back into my arms. You can see even from here, like how the muscles on my forearms are pumping out. That's not me saying look at me and look how ripped I am. That's actually me saying look how hard I'm having to try to hold onto these holds, which for a lot of other climbers would probably be quite easy. I really enjoy this move here, pulling off that lovely sloper. It's a really nice big open-handed one, which is good after you've been pulling on the really sharp ones up until before then. Now this was the real crux, and after this clip is finished there'll be another clip of me showing it again. That's a really unfortunate angle where I'm shaking my hand out there. I'm just trying to get the blood back into my hand, not anything else. But yes, trying this now, actually the volume, for so long I tried to get this move while standing on that black volume that's now between my legs, and then swap my hands over. You can't really see, but that one that my left hand is still on, which my right hand was on, was a really small little crimp, and there was only room for about 3 fingers on there, which means at one point I had to be supporting almost all of my body weight on just 2 fingers, which was really tricky. And then yeah, as you can see, I think when I get to this last hold here, I was quite happy about managing to flash that on the first go. So yeah, happy days. Okay, so now going to the same route and just showing you some of these crux moves in close up. So again, you can see a bit better here how small some of these holds are. Really having to get everything perfect, which is the kind of move that I love. This kind of route that I love, where it forces you to climb perfectly and you have to get the holds just right. You can't just sort of do any shortcuts or anything, which is a really nice feeling, as you can see. And again here on this real crux point, so where my right hand is, there's almost nothing there that I'm holding on to. And even though I have got things to stand on my feet, I still need to take a pretty significant amount of my weight on those holds. And I just couldn't do it standing on the volume. It ended up that I actually had to move my feet lower so that my body was lower. So yeah, that made things quite a bit easier. And I'm really glad that I tried that route, which was the hardest route, definitely the hardest route in there. But I tried it not at the end. I got halfway through the routes, or 2/3 of the way through, and I thought, right, I'm going to try some of this hard one now. Which means these ones, these pink triangles that I'm on now, I absolutely love these holds. It looks quite easy, but actually you have to put quite a lot of body tension in to get that last hold, because there's no grip on it whatsoever. It's almost all your feet just holding it in place. So yeah, it was nice to sort of get that big, long, difficult yellow route out of the way so that I could have a bit more fun with these routes here. And this one that you're looking at now, the blues, yeah, it was a route that originally when we put it up we thought it was just too easy, so I put it up and then Charlie had a look at it and he was like, that's just too easy, so we moved a couple of the holds around, which made it fit a bit nicer what I was planning on doing. And then we move on to this, I think this is the second or third to last route, nice long sustained route on the vertical wall section, where I'm just using these little red crimpy things. I remember when we first had a few guys in here, I think we had Tom Last and John Tamlin having a go at this one, and I was kind of really glad that it stumped them, because Tom and John are both really good friends of mine. They're also both really good climbers, so it was quite nice to see them have a go at it first. And I mean, I definitely didn't flash it first time round, and actually the only reason I managed to do it first time round this time is because I had watched them do it first, so I got some of the beta and some of the clues off of them first, which was really good. Okay, so moving on now to one of my most and least favourite routes in the gym, and the one that I just simply couldn't get first time round. So this is the volume route, which if you watch, I'm going to do another vlog soon about how I built the volumes, which are the big black triangular shaped things that are bolted onto the wall that the other holes are bolted onto. There'll be a video out soon, and this is one of the routes that I was trying on that. There's actually 2 volumes just below the screen which you can't see, which is what I'm running and jumping off there to get my hands onto the wall. And the volumes have just been so helpful, because they turn what would otherwise be quite a boring long vertical wall into something quite interesting. And believe it or not, that volume there, which I am putting all of my weight on, is held onto the wall by about 6 screws. I don't know if there should be more, but I couldn't get it to budge at all. So it's amazing how easy it is to put those volumes on, and then how much it changes the wall and makes it something so fun to climb on, which is really nice. So yeah, watch out for that blog coming soon, and you'll see that route in there from a few more angles when I was trying it the first time around. So this is, I think, the penultimate route. Well, I think when I was climbing it, I thought this was going to be the last route that I was going to do today. I thought, because basically there's one more route which I haven't shown you yet, but it was one that before today, or before the day when I was filming this, I hadn't actually been able to climb, and me and Charlie Bohr, another friend of mine, had been trying it, and we just couldn't get it, which is not this route that I'm on now. This route that I'm on now I've done several times over, and it's still a really, really nice route, but I thought this was going to be the last one of the day, and then I remembered, oh yeah, there's that red one that I set. So back now on this kind of wavy vertical, not vertical, overhanging section really, that follows the profile of the vert ramp, which you saw me earlier before climbing up those blue ones, those nice big jugs. I decided it would be worth giving this one a go. Now this move, the first move, as you can see there, I think I just popped off it, is really, really hard. But the next move after it, so going from here next up to quite a horrible crimp, and then having to get my feet out, is really, really tricky. It was especially hard considering the walls weren't painted and they were super smooth, which means there was no grip there whatsoever. Got the brush out here to try and get them as clean as I could, chuck the ladder away and get back in there, have another go. And I was getting really, really angry with this route, which I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that I hadn't just made a load of stuff which I could really easily do, but it was something that I could figure out how to do, I guess. And again, that's part of the joy of climbing, is finding stuff that you otherwise wouldn't be too challenged by. And again, this one was one where I was like, right, maybe someone else could do it the way that I had originally intended, if they were really strong, if they could just crimp off of that next hold and just pull themselves straight up. I can't, so I've got to figure out another way to do it. And I kind of did figure out another way to do it. It still took me about another 4 or 5 goes to get it, but as you can also see, I was getting a little bit frustrated with it as I continued to try, but I think I managed it on the next one, and it was really, really fun when I got it. And again, just if you've never climbed before, there is a huge sense of relief and feeling when you do manage to actually get a route like this. You have to try some really bizarre moves and techniques to get it, and hopefully from here, yeah, just manage to get to the top there. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed talking to you all, and please like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time.